And it just goes and goes and goes. One of these days, we're gonna just let the music run maybe 5 or 10 minutes and see how people get jazzed up. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Big Freaking Friday Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my co-hosts and partners, literal partners in this whole thing with me. That would be the Wild Ute and Moen. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey.
I'm here.
Good to see ya. Moen, you look good tonight.
Thank you. I think I look good every night, though. So
well, I don't know about every
appreciate
night,
it, Bomber. You like the new? I got this. I was gonna wear an Indiana hat, but I ended up going with this one.
Well, you're a little close to the camera. We can't. It's there we go. That's better.
Here we go.
Yeah, you look good.
Our honor defend. It's got the Ohio State logo on the side.
Cool.
I like it. So, yeah, we're going to be talking Ohio State. They had the bye last week, so I'm sure they have all kinds of energy to do stuff this week. We'll talk, obviously, it's now week 9. Can you guys believe it? Week 9. There's only 13 weeks. I'm depressed. I got thinking about that today. It's like, I don't even know what to say. What do you guys say about that?
It's sad.
It is.
Basketball season is almost upon us, and in our communities and stuff, a lot of us that's not good times, right? We're football fans.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long off season.
Yeah,
realignment, baby. Realignment.
Well, realignment. I mean, obviously, Moen's looking forward to, for sure, a playoff spot. BYU is still on the fringe. There is that opportunity that maybe if they, everything falls right, they'll get that invitation to be in the CFP. Regardless, these seasons are just not long enough. I don't know what we need to do. Maybe go to 16 or 17 weeks like the NFL. I need something because it's just not. Anyway.
I just want to say I am not guaranteed a playoff spot. We've got Indiana on the schedule. We got Penn State on the schedule. We still got Michigan on the schedule.
Okay, can I just tell you, that shocks me that an Ohio State fan would say that. What do you think about that, Ute?
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either.
I can't believe what you're saying, Moen. And like the fact that Indiana's quarterback has hurt his thumb.
Right.
Like, I never thought a million years you'd have concerns with playing the Indiana Hoosiers in football. But we're here. We are here, baby.
Well, I think it's a cool thing. The playoffs awesome. At the same time, there's anxiety attached to that, and we'll talk about week 9. It'll be a lot of fun, and there's really nothing to talk about with week 8 because week 9 is going to run right into week 10, and then next thing you know, it's Thanksgiving and Army Navy, and I mean it's just nuts. Anyway, I want to clear something up before we get started or doing anything else. Anybody who has questions about who I am, for that matter, who Ute is or who Moen is, well, Moen works for the FBI. He can't say anything. But you and I do not hide behind aliases. You want to find us, you can find us on Twitter. My name's Nathan Brown. I'll let Philip introduce himself.
My name's Philip.
And I don't want anybody questioning who we are because there's some alias hanging out there. Twitter beefs. Everybody, not everybody, but some people say if you're not using your real name, you're hiding. I've never hidden my name. And if anybody's ever wanted to know Utes, I'm sure he's probably introduced himself. So that's sort of come up in the last couple of weeks. A couple of people have asked, and I just want to clear that up from the top to the bottom. If you're new to the channel, you're watching this on X. There's a lot of people watching on X now. Make sure you follow us all on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. I cannot tell you how important it is. If you're on X right now, feel free to leave comments on X. That's well and good. But please do us a favor, and it is a favor, where it's an extra step. Jump over and College Football Mafia Network or Big 12 Big 12 Mafia. Jump over on our YouTube page and subscribe. Consider becoming a member and hitting that little dollar icon next to the comment section and becoming a member. We have a very thriving community where we have a Discord that people enjoy. And I just want to invite you. We don't spend enough time on the business side, I think, because we want to jump right into the stuff that's the fun stuff, the football and all the other sports in college sports. But it really is important for us to keep the lights on So if you're on X or watching on anything else for that matter, I think Instagram, we're still broadcasting, aren't we, Moen?
We're on Twitch.
On Twitch. Please go over to YouTube and subscribe. It really helps us. And then last but not least, give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment or question, suggestions even. We love those. And then what's the last thing I was going to and turn on your notifications. That's the last thing I want to make sure I say before we move on to fun stuff. All right, Ute. We're another week down. We are on the edge. Well, last night, Pitt thumped Syracuse, so I guess we're right now heads neck deep in week 9. Any thoughts about going into this next week? Separator weekend?
It's definitely a separator weekend. It seems like a kind of a quiet weekend on the college football docket in a lot of ways. But there just seems to be, we're getting to the point of the season where every game matters so much more, and the pressure is building for the teams that are playoff contenders, right? You've got to win these games now. You're in the hunt. There's a lot of teams this week, especially in the Big 12 circles and everything, that just need to get it done and show us that they really are a true playoff contender. This is the kind of week that can sneak up on you, and like you can see a bunch of surprising losses.
Right.
So that's what I think, that this is like a separation week, we'll call it, and everything, when we're looking actually at the docket. And we'll see how it goes and everything. I think there's going to be upsets.
Moen, you want to add anything to that?
I think this is going to be pumpkin week. I think there's a lot of Cinderellas.
Okay.
And that coach is turning into a pumpkin this week.
Oh, really? You think it's coaches, not just teams?
Well, I mean, like her coach. Her coach turns into a pumpkin in the first.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So, yeah, I think a lot of these Cinderella teams are going to fall off this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get our picks.
Right.
But I do want to review the standings first.
Please, go for it.
I guess you two haven't seen these yet.
We haven't.
Oh, my gosh.
That was brutal. Really? 3 and 5? That's got to be a typo.
No.
1 and 7, Ute.
It's been rough times in the picks.
Oh, brother and sister Mary.
You know it's bad when Moen.
Yeah, tell us how you did it, Moen. What's your secret?
I picked some outliers. I was the only one who picked Georgia over Texas. Everybody else took Texas.
Yeah.
I was one of I think myself and Becky picked Tennessee over Alabama.
Oh, no.
That was another one. So picked some outliers. So still with the lead is Rock and Rant at 36-28. Then Pickles at 35-29. Then Becky at 34-30. Palmer at 33-31. Ute falls below 500 at 31-33. And I'm still at the bottom of the pack, 29-35, despite having a winning record last week. So
I said don't
make up some ground.
Going into this last weekend and this weekend too, I said don't call it a comeback. I'm trying to claw my way back. I continue to blame my early season struggles on my health issues. So at the end of the season, I'm going to end up with the worst record. There's going to be a little star next to it because I'm not sure how much it actually counts. But I mean, Ute under 500, I am stunned. Moen is not very good at what he's doing, but you and I and Immaculate last year were blow for blow, kind of. It's been kind of an upside down season, hasn't it?
It was good. Like I thought for sure Bama was going to take care of Tennessee.
Right.
That's shocking. I thought Texas was going to beat Georgia.
Right.
There's a lot of these games that it's just so surprising. When you're picking against the spread, it goes against you or for you quick, right? These aren't just straight up picks. But that Bama result was eye-opening. What the freak is wrong with Bama? They are not what we talked about this before the season. Bama is down.
Yes.
I didn't think they were this down, right? And I don't even know. I didn't listen to anything with like Feinbaum show this week, but I know that Bama fans have got to be absolutely blowing their gasket knowing those folks.
Absolutely. And I think from the outside looking in, Ohio State had to be sort of doing this, watching last week, knowing that and again, Moen, I must say I am taken aback, not by your concern, because you're not concerned, but your conservativeness about Ohio State.
Well, I mean, look, we've got 2 undefeated teams still on our schedule.
I know, no, and I'm not saying not to be conservative. I'm not saying that at all. As a BYU fan, I'm beyond PTSD on that. I'm just saying, hearing an Ohio State guy saying, take a step back, slow the roll. We're only 7 games into this thing, right?
Yes.
So
1 week at a time.
Okay. All right. It sounds trite. It used to be trite. Anymore, I think in modern day college football, it literally has to be the law. Has to be every week. And we're all old enough to remember that the first 7-8 weeks of these seasons in the past, even in the last decade, have really been just sort of whatever. We're waiting for those last 4 games. Those Auburn Alabamas. You know, those Florida Georgias, those games usually don't come till the end of the year or in the past. Nowadays, every week you're having power conference schools that are like, what the hell's going on? Right?
Yeah, the games every single week are crazy. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas versus Bama, Georgia versus Bama. Like, it's every freaking week.
Yeah.
It is. Like, there's mega matchups, guys. Like, and had a lot of conversation on social media this week with a lot of fans in the Big 12 especially that are throwing excuses out for viewership numbers.
Yep.
Like, hey, we're slotted against this game. Wake up. We've got big games every week. That's our new life. Like, we've got to get used to that. There's no excuses. Your numbers are your numbers. If people aren't watching you, they're not watching you. It is what it is. We need to accept that. But in this new world, I mean, we do have 2 conferences that are mega conferences. And every single week, there are at least 1 or 2 mega games that will be on and be competition for Big 12 games every freaking week. So we have to get used to that.
I completely agree. Before we get off this and start talking about a couple other things, Moen, is there anything else you want to say as Ohio State? Who do you play this week again?
We've got Nebraska for our homecoming.
And how does that feel to you? Nebraska definitely is not the black shirts of old. Is this something where who do you play next week?
I don't know. You asked me too quick.
Oh, sorry. I'm just wondering if Nebraska's a look-ahead game. Are we at that point?
I think we play Penn State next weekend. We
Yikes.
play at Penn State. It's a big noon kickoff, but it's not a whiteout.
Okay. During the day.
Yeah, I think it's a noon kickoff.
So Nebraska, I don't know, what do you think about that? I could see this as a maybe Ohio State maybe looking down the calendar.
Picked Nebraska last week to upset Indiana. Embarrassed by that pick, so I'm not picking black shirts again. I'm not picking Nebraska again all season, I'll tell you that. So Ohio State's going to roll them. They had a week by week getting ready for this one.
Yeah.
Nebraska's just not very good.
Yeah, I was praying they were going to be better. College football's better when Nebraska's good. I've said that all season. Anyway. All right, just as a preview, in the next 10 minutes, sometime in there, I'm going to be having Andrew, Stat Boy Drew, he goes by on Twitter, going to come, and we are going to talk a little UCF. We're going to talk about it for BYU, and then we're going to talk about it as a last game for Utah, which is, to me, mind-blowing. How this school could end up affecting, I think it still has a way to go. They almost got Iowa State last week. They very easily could get BYU this weekend. And what is going on in Orlando? Because this team, we all had picked on the come up. Now they have kids that are redshirting, basically quitting on their team, saying we're leaving. You have coaches saying some crazy things to kids. So when he gets here, when Andrew joins us, we're going to talk UCF, and that will be a lot of fun. All right. Any other items you guys want to get to before I get to a couple of quick topics?
Let's do some shout-outs and then get to the topics.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. You're exactly right. That's priorities. Thank you very much for that. You're exactly right. Timothy Green first. Sounds like another very interesting show, guys. Let's go, football fans. I agree. Thumbs up. Thanks, Timothy. You're an OG, and we really appreciate it. Moen, what is this madness? Noise. Oh, yeah.
Hot. This is Ryan Willie being a member for 10 months.
I know. It's awesome.
Hi, CFM. Do we really need to talk about this shit? Let's talk about the games. We're going to talk about the games, Ryan, but you will want to stay tuned to hear what I have to say about the scheduling agreement.
Ooh, we're going to talk scheduling agreement. Right? Not now, right? We're going to do that a
No,
little
no,
bit
no.
later.
We're doing
Okay.
that towards the
All
end
right.
of the show.
All right. Yeah. Scheduling agreement. So everybody knows we're talking about the P2, Big Ten, and SEC. No Super League, but scheduling agreement. Okay. Next one. Illini Ted checking in. Longtime member, OG Illini Ted. I'm curious about Autzen. That's the stadium for the Oregon Ducks. Duck fans have been saying we aren't ready for it. We played 2 road night games at Nebraska and Penn State. Penn State road game evening. Both those venues are much larger. They are much like almost double in size. Seems like we should be ready. Ute, tell everybody about Autzen.
Autzen's one of the hardest places in the nation to play. It's been that way for 20 years. It's because of the makeup of the stadium. It's built straight up and down like the Seahawks Stadium. It's loud. Maybe the loudest college football venue outside of LSU night games. Autzen's nuts. Fans go crazy there. I know that Penn State gets bigger crowds. Nebraska gets bigger crowds. Autzen will be louder. It'll be more raucous because of the makeup of the stadium, the structure of it too. So get ready. It's nuts. It's hard to win there.
Mo, and your team just went through there.
Yeah, listen. Autzen seemed like it was raucous. Obviously, they stormed the field with a 1-point victory. You know, some of us, we act like we've been there before.
Ooh, baby. Oh, brother, you lose the game and you're still casting shade. How about that? That's what you get to do when you're an Ohio State fan. I would give you credit for that. All I know is I went there once in the it was like 89 or 90 or 90. No, it wasn't 90 because I was sick. So I think it was 88 or 89 when the Ducks were nobodies. And before Nike started getting money into the program. And it used to be like a high school football stadium. It was nothing.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it was a joke. Yeah. Oregon State used to run that state in football. If you look historically, Oregon was – you'd have to go all the way back to Dan Fouts in the 70s to get somebody that even – and then Achilles Smith came later in the 90s. Anyway, but Ute knows firsthand. Ute knows. Antoine Coates checking in, another OG member. Coach Kenny Dillingham with Arizona State said in his interview with Wilner and Canzano, the John and John show, that he believes more competitive balance is coming to college football in the next 6 to 18 months. What do y'all think? I definitely believe that. Transfer portal and NIL flattening out all the best brands. What do you guys think?
No, I disagree a lot. And I'm going to take a different view of this. I think that the money situation is going to catch up. I think that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to pull away more with the resources, especially in the new world that we're living in with the house settlement, the $22 million like minimum price tag,
right,
plus all the NIL resources on the back end. I don't think there's going to be competitive balance at all. I think it's actually moving the other way. So I'm surprised that Kenny Dillingham even said that, actually. I mean, maybe in the Big 12, there's more competitive balance.
Yeah, maybe that's what he was talking about, yeah.
It seems like that could be the case because everybody has similar resources.
Mm-hmm.
But compared to the SEC and Big Ten, I don't think the Big 12 is going to be as competitive in the future. Unless somebody can create a mega NIL monster,
right,
just have crazy resources funding their players and teams. You can basically build a super team in the Big 12. In that case, you can compete in everything, but based on the current resources, I don't agree with it at all.
I don't know the context. I totally understand what you're saying, Ute. I do disagree, I think, but BYU is doing something different though with their NIL, so maybe that's where I'm feeling there. Ute, Moen, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I agree 100% with what you said.
Okay, I'll probably be wrong. Thanks for the comment, Antoine. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Ricky Tungate, good to see you. Another member that's becoming an OG. I think we go 3 or 4 months and you're OG in our house. member giving us a $10 super chat. Moen, we got a clap there. Something.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was.
Legitness. I love it. Want to get you all started. Go Hoosiers. Thank you very much, Ricky. Go Hoosiers, man. Indiana.
Living the high life, baby.
Shocking the world. Shocking the world. Who do they play this weekend?
They play Washington and College Game
boy.
Day. This is the best part. College Game Day is in Bloomington for the game. The game is on Big Ten Network.
Really?
Shut up.
ESPN is going to be promoting a game on the Big Ten Network.
Okay, that is crazy. I had no idea. That is really, really crazy. Wow. Big Ten Network getting ESPN Game Day. That's the new world we're in, I think. They're chasing dollars because they know people will watch. I think that's smart. Thank you for the $10 super chat and your loyalty, Ricky. Your continued being a subscriber and a member. We really, really appreciate. Let's see here. Jan Hulk checking in from Slovenia. We are an international group here, everybody. We go from Slovenia to the Philippines and back again to the United States. So good to see you, Jan. I hope you're feeling well. Give us an update in the comment section. Let us know how you're feeling, how your recovery is going. Says, hey, all. Appreciate that very much. Daniel Gygax, the newest member of the Mafia family, contributor and partner. Appreciate that, Daniel. Says, hi, everyone. Thank you very much. AMAC saying, good to see you. AMAC saying, howdy, y'all. Let's see. Harry Austin says, let's go see you, Buffs. Who does Colorado play this week? You?
Who does the Buffs play? I have to check that out.
Or do they have a bye this week?
They're playing.
Okay. I'm not sure who they're playing. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
They're playing Cincinnati.
In Colorado or in?
It's at Colorado. Cincinnati at Colorado.
Colorado better be careful. Cincinnati's better than people think. Yeah. And this will be a test for Colorado, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're kind of similar teams in some ways, I think.
Right.
I have no idea how this game's going to go. Like, it's a really hard one to predict. I mean, Cincy's better than we think, but Colorado has some of the best pieces in the Big 12. So if Colorado gets it going, I think they win the game, but Cincy can certainly get the upset.
Right. Moen, you want anything to that?
I like Colorado in that game.
Did we pick that one?
We did not.
I probably would have taken Cincinnati. Anyway. Good to see you, Harry. Thank you very much. Skaven, yes. Another becoming an OG member, continued subscribership and membership. We appreciate it, Skaven. Says, hello, gentlemen. GBR is Go Big Red, right?
Go Big Red.
All right.
Not this week.
No. Big noon, baby.
Stephen Vitt checking in says, hey, guys, stopping by to say hello. Good to see you, Stephen. We appreciate you a lot. Becky Go Huskies, contributor to the Big Ten Mafia Show. Good to have you here, Becky. Says, hey, guys, good to see you.
Purple Dogs.
Nathan Campbell checking in says, hi, guys. Good to see you. I'm just marking these as I'm going, guys. Hall of Fame, college football. Jason, good to see you, Jason.
Hey.
So proud of you and your show, man. I don't know if you guys know, but he's mourning tonight. He's going from 8 in the morning till sometimes 9, 10 at night on his show. One of the hardest workers out in the college football sphere, covering everything on social media. Jason, thank you so much. Your friendship and mentorship really has helped us a ton. Says, it's the crew. It is the crew. Good to see you. Immaculate, another one of the original builders of the Mafia Network. Immaculate says, how the hell is Moen winning a week of this? Moen?
Problems over here, Immaculate. There's problems.
Yeah,
the world's upside down.
I will say this. I win on weeks against the spread when there's no money on the line.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
If I put money on it against the spread,
You'll
I
lose.
will lose.
Yeah.
I will lose.
Yeah. Timothy Green again says, hello, Jason. Is that you? And if so, when's your next show, please? I probably has one either later tonight or tomorrow. He's all the time on. Really, really impressed. Again, just keep up the hard work, Jason. Anything we can do as a collective, please Ask us. We're here to help. Getting through every OPD Don. There's a new one saying Bama will lose one more game, maybe two. I think they will lose at least one more. If one, they will still be in the top 25. If they lose two, they will drop out. Can we imagine a world where Alabama does not make the playoff?
Yeah. They're living in it. That's
Yeah,
what happens when Nick Saban retires.
I don't even think they're in the top 5 in the SEC.
Yeah, Texas better than them. Georgia, obviously.
Yeah, keep
Tennessee,
going. Who is
3.
the top 5?
Oh,
Ole Miss?
Ole Miss.
Texas A&M.
Okay.
I think Georgia's better than them.
Okay.
I think LSU is better than them.
Ooh,
I
LSU's
think
a
Ole
stretch,
Miss
I
is
think.
better than them.
I like Ole Miss.
Tennessee proved that they were better than them.
Right.
So, I mean,
at what point does DeBoer get on the hot seat, guys? At what point? How many losses can he sustain this year?
Who are you talking about?
Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of Alabama.
I told you, I think he's a sacrificial lamb. He's a 1 or 2 year, and then they get rid of him. They needed a speed bump to go to the next guy, who's probably Lane Kiffin or Sarkisian. That's my opinion. What do you guys think?
Pressure. There's a lot of pressure right there in Tuscaloosa. I don't know if he can. I think if he loses 2 more games, that's going to be it.
You think they're going to run him?
They're already losing their crap, dude. Like they really are. If you lose 1 more game and you're 9-3, if you lose 2 more games and you're 8-4, like he's on the hot seat. He keeps his job going into next year, but they're looking to can him. Like he's kind of in that situation where.
So you think 8-4 leads
is
to
like the tipping point?
Okay. Okay.
8-4.
All right. Moen, you agree, disagree?
Listen, I think Alabama fans are incredibly spoiled. Nick Saban is a once-in-a-lifetime coach. There was never going to be any replacing Nick Saban.
Right.
So, I mean, you're going to have to let Kalen DeBoer build that program in his image, the way he knows how to build a program.
Does he know how to build a program? Every school he's been a 2-year and gone, 2-year and gone, 2-year and gone.
You have to say something though. He went to a national championship game. Not
and
a
lost.
lot of coaches. He lost, but not a lot of coaches can say they even won. He won a playoff game.
Michigan.
What's his name? The TCU coach. Could you say that he's somebody that? I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
If that just getting to the game. Well, sorry. In the 4-team playoff, I think it's a little different. In a 12-team playoff to get to the final game, I think you got to be pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think they're going to run.
Okay.
I understand where Alabama fans are coming from because I'm an Ohio State fan. I understand the amount of pressure that is put on these coaches.
Right.
To absolutely that any loss is unacceptable. But Nick Saban is the GOAT, guys. You're never going to see a college coach like Nick Saban again.
Well, we don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't I think you got to set your mark. He's not going to come in and be Nick Saban right away. You got to let him build.
Take a look at the schedule, guys. Here, I want to pop up the schedule.
Yeah, bring it up. Let's go.
All right, let's take a look at Bama's schedule here. So we got Missouri at Alabama. That's probably a win. Then you're going to LSU. That's probably a loss. Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn.
Auburn's a toss-up. Auburn's a toss-up game because it's a rivalry game.
Thinking 4-1 there. DeBoer he's not going to get fired this year, but they're going to want the pressure will be on. It's already on right now.
Yeah, it is.
Like, hey, if you lose Missouri, oh my goodness gracious.
Well, that Vanderbilt thing really just broke a lot of people in Tuscaloosa. Broke them in half. So now it turns out Vanderbilt's not as bad, Vanderbilt's not a bad team, but you lose to Vanderbilt first time in 35 years or something. I mean, those are things you can't walk away from. Anyway, let's get off Alabama. Becky Go Husky says Washington is the loudest, literally measured in decibels, the loudest. I've been to that stadium. You've been to Husky Stadium, right?
I haven't, no.
Oh, you never made it there with Utah? It is one of the loudest. After it was reconfigured and they took out the track, and made it now as the stadium's closer. It is a louder stadium. I love the Huskies. Obviously, I've been in a lot of other stadiums, and I'm not sure it's the loudest. It used to be, in my opinion, the loudest. I'm not sure if the current configuration is. I'll take Becky's word for it. Joaquin Morales checking in. ASU. Good to see you, Joaquin, saying, hey, Bomber, Wild Ute, Moen, and College Football Mafia family. Stopping by to smash that like button. Have to listen to the show later. Have a great weekend, all. Have a great weekend to you too, Joaquin. Thank you so much for your loyalty and your continued membership. We cannot thank you enough. And good luck. Does the ASU play this weekend? I don't know. That might be something we have to come across later. Paul, and that's Lubke, I'm thinking. Autzen is about the same size as Iowa State's Jack Trice Stadium. I have not been to Iowa State, but I have been to Autzen. Do you guys have any experience with the Iowa State Stadium? Just in curious.
They sell out a lot.
They do, don't they? They're like Utah in that regard. I would compare them. Yeah. How many seats? Utah's got 55?
Yeah, when you get like max capacity, like technically it's like 53. But like you
Okay.
can get up to 55.
Does anybody know what Iowa State's is?
I think it's around 60. It's bigger.
Really? It's just
and
below
Austin's
BYU?
only in the high 50s too.
Yeah,
Like
Austin's like 56, I think. 58, something like that. Yeah.
It's really the makeup of the stadium, though. Austin was built to be like loud. Like it was built with the sponsorship of Phil Knight to really just funnel noise right down to the field.
Yep.
It's almost illegal how they did that, right? I mean, if Penn State did that, if Ohio State did that, it'd be absolutely insane. But they don't have stadiums like that. That's what makes Austin unique and difficult to play in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There was a name here I thought I missed that was new, but if I missed you and you posted a little bit ago, I apologize. I try to get things that are going live, and sometimes I miss them. Rock and Rant checking in, contributor, University of Miami. Can they continue to roll this weekend? It happens all the time. Not sure what he's talking about, but upsets maybe?
No, he was talking about College Game Day. We were clarifying. I clarified to him. Talking about College Game Day has never promoted a Big Ten network game.
Right. They've done Big Ten games. Yeah.
Yes, they promoted Fox games before and whatnot.
Right.
An actual Big Ten network game.
Like the game they promoted in the same. Yes. Yeah, I've seen that. Nitwit, Penn State. It's been a minute, Nitwit. I missed you, man. I know I was gone for a minute, so it's great to see you, Penn State. Still kicking. Saying hi, guys. Big weekend. Who's Penn State play?
Moen? I think they might be on bye this week.
Oh, are they? Well, then they win. Regardless, they win if they're on bye. Let's see. Any more newbies? Want to make sure I try to get out. Scobuffs. Where's that at? That's Jason. Oh, college football rivalries. I love doing those picks. Good to see you, man. Afternoon, fellas. Just getting in. We appreciate it. We need to have you on the show sometime soon. College football rivalries. I love doing picks with you. You have a good operation there. Expedition Greg. Twitter.
Right.
What's that?
They're at Wisconsin this week.
Are they? Okay.
They're at Wisconsin.
Oh, that's right. Wisconsin is
the
upset
Camp
alert.
Randall. Yeah, Camp Randall at night.
That's right. Expedition Greg. Hey, everyone. Great to see you, Expedition Greg. A valuable member of the Mafia family. Darth Ducky. Growing on me is one of the best names. Saying heresy detected. What are we talking about there? Which is he talking about?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right.
I have no idea.
All right. Let's see. Boy, we have gotten so many early comments, and thank you so much to everybody who's here early to get us started. I really, really appreciate it. Earl Carr. Where are we? There we go. Sup, brothers, saying, hey, Moen, Wild, and Bomber. Good to see you, Earl.
Hey.
Let's go BYU. Every Big 12 person should be cheering for Iowa State and BYU. That's all I'm saying. Let's see here. Nitwit. Oh, Jeff Morgan, another member, West Virginia represented in the house. What's up, guys? Good to see you, Jeff. I already got C. John, but I'll say it again. ISU and West Virginia are almost identical. That's stadium size we're talking about, right? Tony Lawson says Oregon is 54,000, but they had 60 for the Ohio State. Can somebody explain this to me, please? How does the fire, isn't the whole thing around fire marshals and max capacities?
Sometimes you get around that for a big game.
Okay.
That's the only explanation. I mean, it must have been just buku standing room only, right at the very top of the stadium.
The other thing is, too, you've got to take into account if they've got luxury suites.
Right.
You can have 20 to 30 people in one of those suites. And
that's true. That's true. All right. I want to introduce Andrew. Hey. Andrew, I'm so sorry. I'm old person now. And so my screen, I've gone to the bigger font. And you are down there at the bottom. I'm sorry about that. I hope you didn't wait too long.
No, it's no worries. It gives me a chance just to watch the argument of which stadium is louder. These are important things people need to know.
Sure. UCF, you guys are building something down there with some not only stadium sizes but also loudness, right? You guys got your the
bounce house.
Bounce house. Tell us a little bit about how that got started and what that's about.
Well, I mean, if you want the whole history, you got to go back to 2005. Actually, when they were told by the people who ran the Citrus Bowl, or as I like to call it, the Citrus Dump, because you go outside, there's a drug dealer waiting for you.
No way.
It's not in a good neighborhood. It's not. When I was in college, that's where UCF played. But they were told, we're going to renovate the Citrus Bowl. You need to find a new place. And it kind of kickstarted the idea of, hey, why don't we just build something on campus? So after dealing with a lot of NIMBYs, not in my backyard, people who didn't like having the stadium near their house, they finally get it taken care of. It's a steel stadium, much like Doak Campbell Stadium was. I think people need to remember Florida State was based on the same premise, just a steel stadium, what they can afford, and they upgraded over time. But being a steel stadium, it's loud.
Right.
And it's bouncy because steel bends. I mean, that's just how it works. So first game, fans start jumping up and down. They realize, hey, this is pretty cool. It's got a little bit of a trampoline effect.
There you go.
Oh, seriously, if you guys can get, catch a game down there, go by the student section and just bounce with them. It's not as bad as it used to be. They reinforced it and with more steel and whatnot. But I mean, it's still a unique experience. I get credentialed up in the press box and you can feel it there. You can feel the whole place just kind of shaking. And the first couple times it takes a little getting used to, but afterwards it's like, yeah, it's happening again. But it's a high energy stadium. This is a young, hungry alumni base. I think the average age is about 38 of the entire school.
Really?
Well, the school opened in they launched the school in 1963.
Okay.
This is it's a very young school, obviously from a P4 standpoint. I think Houston was the next youngest football program in like 1920s. Okay. UCF's program started in 79 and they made it into FBS in 96. Wow. So we're talking a very young alumni base, a young program. But I mean, as you know, it's in the middle of Florida. And if they can lock that down, which is a work in progress, right? If they can lock that down, watch out, Big 12.
Well, no doubt about it.
We've talked about that for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Once BYU and UCF were both invited to the Big 12, I got to admit, I tried hooking up with UCF people for a long time. We talked a little bit about that on Twitter in preparation for this show. My question, and we'll just get this started. We'll jump right in. By the way, everybody, this is Andrew. Andrew, why don't you introduce yourself before I go into my little thing?
Yes, sir. My name's Andrew Gluchov. I am a writer for The Last Word on Sports, and I've been helping with the launching of the new Locked On UCF channel. Just started this past week, and I think I've been on more than half of their shows.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Mike G's, tearing it up. He's got a lot of connections, and he's going to be putting together some really good stuff. We're just getting off the ground. And I gotta call out BYU fans because they have been an absolute godsend at helping launch this channel. They listened in. They were very active on the comments. Some even subscribed. It was really cool. And the majority of the fan base really fun to interact with. The timing couldn't have been better. I'm thrilled that BYU is coming down to Orlando. As many people know, there is a strong connection with BYU in Florida.
Yeah, there's a high LDS population.
I've got friends who are members of the Mormon Church,
right?
And so I'm expecting a good secondary market turnout for the Cougar fans. And I'm just a fan of good football, fun games. So bring it on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show as I started to go into, and then I gave you the time you really needed. It has been tough to get engaged, like college football nights. There's a few others that I tried to deal with as an individual to come on our show to interact, talk about schedules, preseason, and it's just been difficult. Is that a little bit to do with the newness of your program? Is there a little bit of social anxiety that do we really belong, or is this something, can you explain that? Because now obviously Utah's in the Big 12 too. Explain to us kind of how this has developed for UCF, because out here in the West to us, it kind of looks like you guys are sort of mixed up on where you want to be.
Well, you have to look at, the four that came in 2023. They all were brought for different reasons.
Right.
BYU had the fan base that, for marketing and to build that TV contract. Cincinnati was a partner with West Virginia. Very logical. There was already a rivalry there. Houston was trying to offset a bit of the Texas market that was being lost. And UCF was kind of a long-term investment. They're one of the largest schools in the country, so they have a growing alumni base. So they just need chance to grow as a school, as a program. We've seen what they can get to with their 25-game winning streak in 2017 and 18. Mm-hmm. So we've seen where they can get to. Now the question is, can they do it consistently? We're still in the middle of that paradigm shift of NIL and the portal. And it's been a little bit rough for UCF this year with a bunch of players basically saying, I'm opting out mid-season and using my red shirt to do it. So there's growing pains, and it's going to keep going. But I think over time, long-term investment over time, I think within the next 10 years, they'll get a conference championship shot, if not a title altogether. There's no reason why. But, nowadays it's more about mercenaries for hire versus, bring people in and develop your players.
We've talked a lot on this channel really about recruiting classes, and UCF actually has one of the best talent composites per 24/7 in the Big 12 currently. Like, forget 10 years. Like, we were talking on this channel, you guys would compete this year.
Yeah.
A down year for UCF, just like Utah. But really, I would be shocked if it wasn't within the next 5 years that UCF, isn't in the title game just based on the talent pool you have down there. So speak to the recruiting a little bit. What's been the big difference joining the Big 12 in recruiting for UCF?
Well, it's the perception of you have a shot. Yeah. As we know, I grew up in Ohio, OH.
Ohio.
Grew up born and raised Buckeye. So I'm used to that blue blood thing, but my mom went to Kent State. So we love the
there you go.
My dad went to a little D3 school up there. We love the little guys. When I went to UCF, it was when I started there, it was their last year as a D1 independent, and then 3 dark years in the MAC, and then off to Conference USA. So they were always the little guy, always a step behind, never quite making it there. They tried to get, into the Big East back in the late 90s. That went nowhere. And then when they do make it to the Big East, it falls apart. And they get that 1 year as a BCS auto bid conference, and they hit it out of the park.
Yep.
But then they go back to being, a have not. So the fact that UCF's gotten in front of things with this opportunity in the Big 12, it's kind of weird. It feels kind of foreign. This is not UCF's luck.
Yep.
What you're seeing this year, and with the Baylor game last year, That's the UCF I grew up with, where they would play well and just find ways to give up games. As I used to call it, UCF in the game. Hey, I'm from Cleveland, man. We know the art form of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, if you're a Browns fan, absolutely.
100%.
Moen?
Oh, totally.
I'm not a Browns fan, so
you're a Bengals guy.
I'm a Bengals
Get
guy.
it too.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Moen, do you have
Ohio guys?
Moen, do you have a comment or question or something? That's what I was getting
No, it's
Okay.
always great to meet a fellow Buckeye. Once you're a Buckeye, you're always a Buckeye. It doesn't matter where you go to school. This is a Buckeye State. You're a Buckeye. You're one of us.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, in 2012, the way it worked out, Ohio State had a cancellation, UCF had a cancellation. They scheduled a game against each other at the Shoe. I traveled up to that game, so I stayed at my cousin's house. I tailgated with him and his Buckeye buddies. I'm decked out in black and gold, singing "Hang On, Sloopy" with the rest of them. That was like one of the greatest experiences I had. It was just so much fun. That's one of my favorite stadium trips. Virginia Tech's also a real place cool place to go if you get a chance to, because I know you guys were talking stadiums briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Who doesn't have the loudest stadium? Penn State does not have the loudest stadium.
Really?
Moen, is that so?
It is not the loudest stadium.
It's not acoustically.
It's not straight up and down, huh?
It's not.
Yeah.
And if you get them in a situation where they lose, man, you can hear a pin drop there. I was there in 2002. They had just expanded the stadium. UCF was playing there, and UCF clawed back to a 3-point game late in the second half. And I mean, the stadium was almost dead silent. It was almost eerie at how quiet it was. It's not a place built for sound.
So we're going to have more of these shows. I'm so glad you were willing to come on. I at the end of these things, I always promise our guests you're going to have fun. And so just you being here, I hope you enjoy your time. And as I told you before, you can check out whenever you want. Right? For us, we're just having fun. We're having conversation. If we get to a point where you got to go, just say you got to go, and I'll give you a second to sign off. Is that fair?
It sounds fair.
All right.
Just having a good time. This isn't work. This is fun.
Right.
This is play.
Yeah, this is not work.
And it's not work.
Forget work.
These are passion projects, I think, for the four of us more than anything. We're not getting rich off it, right? We're just having fun because it's our areas of expertise wherever we happen to be. So let's do two things. First, the one right in front of us, BYU UCF. I think, I don't know if you caught our show on Tuesday. There is some PTSD for BYU fans. It's hard once you had that national spotlight for 30 some odd years, then for a window of time you lose it. That time when Utah went to the Pac-12 and BYU, frankly, were in their shadow for 12 years. Now we're stepping back out again. Tell us kind of how you feel looking forward to this BYU UCF game. I will tell you up front, I'm very anxious. And it's not because my BYU's defense isn't elite. It is elite, but UCF might be better at just the one thing they do, which is run the ball.
And that's the big question. That's why the spread's the way it is. And I picked BYU to win by a touchdown. It's not going to be a blowout, but the Cougars can score, and they're going to score. They're going to find ways to do it. They're just a very good pass team, but there is a susceptibility to throwing interceptions. UCF has had 4 in the last 3 games.
Okay.
So they can create some turnovers. So the real question is, can UCF get out in front early, because they're not designed to come back? And that was one thing they did against Iowa State. They scored early, and that helped set the pace, create a tempo that worked for them. And then they were able to create mistakes, with Iowa State's offense. And I call it 1.9 pick sixes.
Okay.
With the one dropped at the 1 yard line.
Right.
But UCF's Achilles heel is their offensive line. Their run blocking is not very good. They came back to life first half against Iowa State. And as a result, R.J. Harvey runs for 178 yards and had a couple touchdowns. Well, reality settled back in, and they couldn't block. And R.J. Harvey, second half, 9 carries, 18 yards. That's your offense right there.
Wow.
And so that's how Iowa State was able to come back and win this. UCF just could not put them away. So the real question is how BYU's run defense in that front seven is going to handle UCF's offensive line. Are they going to stack the box, put an 8th guy in? Are they going to challenge Ja'Curry Brown to throw the ball?
Right.
They can look at the box score against Iowa State and say, hey, he's not very good, but Iowa State has the 3rd best pass defense in the country. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I take it with a grain of salt. Plus, you're at home. It's homecoming. UCF's had a lot of success at homecoming. They've had only 1 loss since 2017, which was last year. So they've had a lot of success during homecoming. And while we treat the 2022 bowl, the Boca Raton bowl game, kind of like Highlander 2, it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
That's Highlander 2.
Right.
That movie doesn't exist. That game didn't happen. But the last time they played, a regular season game was in 2014, 1-score game.
Yes.
That was in Orlando. 2011, up in Utah.
In Provo. Yeah.
Yeah. 1-score game.
I think I was at that game, actually, if I remember
back
right.
in the George O'Leary days.
Yes. Yeah. When he left, he was at Notre Dame before, right?
For a cup of coffee. And then
right.
because of the whole resume thing, they
at Georgia Tech. That's right.
He
I forgot.
He did really well at Georgia Tech, got was able to get a national championship there. And then after Notre Dame tossed him away, he did a stint at the Minnesota Vikings, was defense coordinator and other specialist. And then UCF brought him in 2004. And that team was so, the cupboards were so bare and the team's so injured. Brandon Marshall and Mike Walker, their top 2 wide receivers,
wow.
they had to play defense. Mike Walker ended up having a career in the NFL with Jacksonville.
Brandon Marshall played defense.
He was the team leader in tackles.
Oh my
in
gosh,
2004.
I didn't know that.
I kid you not. And Mike Sims Walker, also another wide receiver, led the team in interceptions that year. That was such a disaster first season. 2005, they get it together, and then 2015, the wheels completely fall off. He wanted to retire back after the Fiesta Bowl win in 2013. He was convinced not to, and it just went downhill. He was done, and the team followed suit. But that's how a guy like Scott Frost came in and went undefeated in 2 years, because that was the most talented winless team you will ever see.
Gotcha. Utah, you've got them last of the season. You talk about that.
Well, we thought this was going to be a Big 12 eliminator for the championship game.
We did. We talked about it.
I really thought that was going to be in the cards. It hasn't shaped out like that, so we'll see what the records are going into that game. But that's a Black Friday game. It's going to be on Big Fox and everything as committed before the season. But it's going to be a fun one coming down there in Orlando.
UCF might be playing for bowl season life there at 3-4 right now. They are spiraling, 4-game losing streak. But you got BYU, and then you have Arizona State, West Virginia, and Utah to close it out. You got to find 3 wins in that.
Wow.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's very, very difficult. So catch us all up, and I know we're going long here. Again, I appreciate you being here, Andrew. Tell us what's going on with the team itself. It seems like from the outside, 2,500, 3,000 miles away, that this team, the coaching staff has just lost this team. You've got people decommitting. You have others that are just, I don't know how else to say it nicely, quitting on the team, doing the red shirt thing, which I think is just an excuse not to work. Is there fire where there's smoke?
Well, if you go on to Twitter and look up Caven Call, he posted a letter.
I think I read that one actually. Yeah.
And that's a very damning letter.
Yeah.
Talking about how basically he wanted to redshirt to build himself up and didn't want to leave, and basically was told, you redshirt, get out.
Yeah.
That's not the thing you want going out there. And when you see all these players, just now, the kicker Colton Boomer, who had already announced that he was redshirting and leaving the program, he had some surgery done. Basically said, yeah, I couldn't get it done earlier. And okay, well, now we're starting to see a little.
So he just had
correlation here.
surgery this week?
Within this week, yeah. So he missed game 5 of the season due to injury. And then during that week announced he was redshirting and leaving the program and transferring.
Oh, wow.
Now we see this surgery done. And it's like, you got to raise the stink eye a little bit, because the question is, what happened? When did it happen? How did it happen? Was there a provision somewhere that's affecting dollars? Maybe there's a financial impact here. Why he left the program before getting the surgery done, because he's out of the program.
Wow.
Now he's getting the work done. So, there's a lot of question marks. We don't have answers to that. And I doubt anyone's going to be, within the UCF, department is going to actively talk. But you're starting to see this little bit of a pattern developing. And if you're if you're Gus Malzahn, a part of that staff, you got to get in front of it. You got to do a little bit of damage control, because it's going to impact your recruiting. It's going to impact your ability to attract from the transfer portal. The fact that you're in the Big 12 and you're a Power 4 school only goes so far. You can't rest on that. You got to have something to deliver, and you have to convince these players that you're the coach to play for.
Yeah.
Is Gus Malzahn on the hot seat? From the outsider's perspective, like outside of the program,
it's getting warm.
What happened? Right.
It's getting warm. The problem is UCF can't afford to fire him. He's got
What's
about
his buyout?
It's between $12.5 and $13 million. But it's going to go down each year. So I have a feeling if he doesn't turn things around, or at least stabilize things by next year, I think UCF's going to, scratch enough, coin to give him his walking papers. Here's the truth. UCF has not had to fire a football coach since 2003. So
wow.
Most fans have never had to deal with, these questions.
Okay.
They fired Mike Krusek when he lost control of the program. His top quarterback and center were suspended for the remainder of the season for forging attendance documents and other school documents. So, he lost control of the team. O'Leary quit on his own. Scott Frost gets hired away. Josh Heupel gets hired away. So UCF hasn't, fired a head football coach in 20 plus years. So,
wow.
Most fans don't really pay as much attention to some of the nuances of the buyout. It's, they hear, oh, Gus Malzahn got $21 million. Well, there's a math to it all. And sometimes you have to, tighten up, your britches. You got to, count those pennies, get your pencil sharpened, and figure out how to make these dollars work. Cause as a member of the 2003 group, BYU, UCF, they don't get full-time payouts this year.
Not this year. It's next year they get it.
Next year. They get only 19 mil this year. So they're still, and they're, in UCF's case, they're still paying off the American for leaving. Obviously,
right.
BYU doesn't have that problem. Their buyout was a lot smaller, from the West Coast Conference, since it wasn't an FBS conference.
Right.
But your dollars are spoken for. UCF has just announced this year that they're doing a mass expansion and redoing of their main tower, which has all their suites and media, press box and media and all that stuff. They're going to do a massive expansion of that over the next 2 years. So they had to get money from the county through a tourist thing. They had to pull some loans using that as collateral. So dollars are tight. They're wait a little bit. I think by next year, if he's still sniffing barely 6 wins, if that, I think he may get his walking papers at the end of 25.
So Gus is staying this year. So we can expect him for the Utah game at the end of the year. We can expect Gus to be coaching. Okay, good. Very good.
Yeah, I can't see him getting fired at the end of the season.
He does have a natty, and you can't throw those away. That experience is not something that comes easily. So him being connected to the program, I think, is still a good thing. It just seems like a bit of a dumpster fire from the outside looking in, was just some of the, but we don't have the insight that you do, which is why you're here, helping
you're not wrong.
Figure this out. Yeah,
guys, I don't understand this. Like, you guys can speak to this, Bomber and Andrew here. So why is UCF even favored in this football game right now? 2.5 Vegas.
This is weird. Because it opened 1.5 points.
It did.
BYU's
1.5,
favor, still really small.
BYU's favor.
Yeah.
BYU's had weird Vegas odds all year.
Yeah.
It's like no one expects them to win. It's like no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. No one's giving them any time to, and Iowa State was favored by 13.5. I think if this game was last week, you'd see at least a 7-point spread. But I think when UCF show what they can do and take an undefeated Iowa State to the brink, I think that's where Vegas is really giving UCF some, in my opinion, overly favorable odds. I would have flipped it. I think BYU -2 would have been a spread that makes a lot more sense. Again, as I said, I got to buy a touchdown. It's going to be a 1-score game. I think UCF's running game is going to keep them just enough. But I don't think they're going to have enough firepower to keep up when the push comes to shove.
Jay Hill, knows this. Jay Hill is a fantastic defensive coordinator, top 5 in the country, in my opinion. His adjustments, and he's done this now twice. He learned off of Utah in the loss with Arizona. Then last week, learned off previous games to get ahead and be able to pull that out against Oklahoma State. I think the Iowa State game, the timing for BYU could not be better. He would have watched that game maybe 100 times by this time this week. And in my opinion, he'll have 8 guys in the box and he'll make you guys throw the ball. BYU's back end is top 10 national, and they get turnovers. Very opportunistic. They're like 83 or 84% points conversion off of turnovers. So if they get a fumble or an interception, they turn them into points. So I think the game will be close. The Baylor game was 1 possession. Oklahoma State was 1 possession. Yeah, there were some blowouts in there. But to answer your question directly, I think just BYU is just being extremely conservative because of the Oklahoma and Oklahoma State games last year, which they gave away. And they're not, as much as possible, they're not going to let that be out of their control again. So I think
this one might not be close. I mean, I'm thinking I don't know, like Andrew, you've got a touchdown. Like it seems like BYU is going to win by.
Yeah, I was going to say if they get 1 or 2 turnovers, and Jake just plays Trent Dilfer ball, BYU they can win by 14 or 17 points. It is possible.
Yeah, I think the big key here is, and UCF has historically had trouble with quarterbacks who can run, and Retzlaff can take off and run.
Yeah,
I think Martin needs to establish that run game.
Yeah,
hasn't done a whole lot. I know. Dealt with, was a little dinged up, but last week was his best game as in college. 120 yards, looked really good. They need that because then that'll open up the pass game because these defensive backs for UCF, they're pretty good. They're good at hawking the ball. Shedeur Sanders had that rare interception. Brendan Sorsby threw 2 picks. Last week, Rocco Becht threw 2 picks. I mean, they can create turnovers, and Retzlaff has proven that he is a little bit interception prone.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's opportunities for UCF to take advantage of that. The big key for them is they got to turn it into points. Their red zone offense has been terrible, and there was something they got right last week. But throughout the season, they've been terrible in the red zone, and that's how they lost against Cincinnati. That's how they fell apart against Colorado. But as you said, the whole defensive thing, Colorado did it. They stacked and crashed the offensive line, worked like a charm. Then Florida did it, worked. Then Cincinnati did it, worked. Iowa State backed off, and then in the second half they started doing it, and it worked. This is not a good offensive line for run blocking. And when you're a run first and run second team, that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Do you have any questions for us? New to the channel? This first time we've actually met. I'm really, really glad we've been able to spend some time together. Do you have any questions for us? Moen, obviously big timing us in the room, but certainly anything you want to know about Utah or BYU?
Well, let's first start with BYU because that's the closest opponent.
Okay.
Obviously, Utah's a little bit farther down the road. The best question is, what on earth do you do with Cam Rising?
Yeah. Is that a question to me or is that a question to you?
Well, I'll get to Ute in a bit.
Okay.
And let him stew on that one just from the traumatization. I could see it in his face. I mean, there's pain there.
There is
real pain there.
All right. So BYU.
So I talked on Locked On UCF. We talked about BYU and very passionate fan base. Some like, oh, you guys are talking grade 7. Then some like, you don't know ball. You get obviously a mix coming into the Big 12. Obviously 5-7. Not where you want to be, but it's a growing pains. What changed from last year to this year that really made him take off like a rocket?
Yeah, it all starts with the defense. And they brought in new coaches. Jay Hill's, this is his second year, so he's not a first-year coach in the program. This is his second year. But they brought in new offensive line, linebackers, coaches, and skill position. Very much better. The offensive and defensive line. Right now, I think BYU's offensive line in total is rated number 1 or number 2 in the Big 12. And they were at the bottom last year. And as we all 4 of us know, and the people watching, the game is won and lost in the trenches. I don't care how good your skill positions are. And that's where BYU made the biggest difference. Caleb Etienne came over from Oklahoma State. He's just this physical freak. The previous offensive line coach could not get him to work. In fact, it was the worst offensive line I've ever seen at Brigham Young. This year might be the best I've ever seen in person. And I've seen some good ones. So that's the biggest change. Obviously, Kalani Sitake's not different. And I wish we didn't have the same offensive coordinator. He's gonna cost us at least one game this season, in my opinion. Probably the Utah game. He has PTSD when it comes to red and white. But as far as BYU in the Big 12, honestly, we've been playing power conference schedules for decades. So, and also traveling. BYU's used to going anywhere to play anybody anytime, right? They had to, as an independent and as a progressive Mountain West or WAC school. So at the end of the day, what changed? You could say attitude and positivity. Kalani's said a lot of imagining it and it will come, but really nuts and bolts, it starts in the offensive and defensive lines. And honestly, they're gonna go 10-2 or 11-1 or undefeated based on if they can stay healthy and they can stay gap sound. Last week they got gashed. They were not in the right positions of Oklahoma State. If you watch that game, Ollie Gordon, if he doesn't get hurt, maybe he goes for another 100 yards, and maybe that game ends up different because Jay just they weren't gap sound like they needed to be. So this week, I think I'm projecting that I think BYU will fix some of those things.
What's the line from Family Guy? Wish it, want to do it.
Yes, I think that's right. And I think that's all of us except for Moen, I think. Moen can rely on a lot of blue blood stuff that the 3 of us can't really say, right? We aspire to those things, but these schools that are still trying to do well, and I don't know if you talked about it on Locked On UCF, but the only way the Big 12 is going to get any more respect is to get into the playoff, get
100%.
two teams plus into the playoff, and then win some games. Doesn't matter how many people are watching the games. I mean, it matters, but from a nuts and bolts perspective, it's about going into the playoff and winning some games and getting teams into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that was something that we talked about. Can the Big 12 not only get 2, but maybe even 3 into the playoffs? It's a bit of a stretch. They need help. It really depends on how much cannibalization the SEC does to itself. The Big Ten has already been doing that. You really have 2 teams that have a realistic shot of the playoff. I don't think Indiana and is going to hold it together. I'm too much a fan of history, and it's Indiana. So something's going to go wrong. They're going to miss. You got Ohio State. You got Oregon, and then Penn State's kind of on the outside looking in. The SEC has been starting to beat each other up. Georgia, had the hiccups. Texas already has a loss. Alabama, I heard you guys talking about not the same school they once were. You're right. They should be appreciative of what they've had, because no one's ever going to have a Nick Saban like guy in our lifetimes. I mean, I can't say never again, but I don't think in our lifetimes are we going to have a guy that dominated the way he did. The college sports world has changed too much. It's one of the reasons why he left. It changed. So Alabama, not the same school. It's hard being the guy that follows the guy. Ron Zook, enough said. You follow Steve Spurrier at Florida. There was nothing he could have done to save that job. And I think Kalen DeBoer, short of somehow find his way into the playoff, is gonna follow suit with that. I think he's gonna be, as someone said, was a bit of a sacrificial lamb when it's all said and done. You've got the ACC, which is really overrated. I mean, you've got Clemson, Pitt, and a pack of Skittles. Florida State's fallen on their face. Miami hasn't played anyone yet, so I question if they're legit or still a bit of fool's gold. They have no ranked teams under their belt just yet. North Carolina has fallen off the cliff, and then you have the lower guys. North Carolina State lost Grayson McCall. He had to retire.
Yeah, that was
football.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, concussions, man. This is real stuff. These injuries are legit. I mean, look what's happened to Tua Tagovailoa up in the Miami Dolphins. This is some scary looking stuff. When you get hit and you're down like that, and it looks like you're having a freaking seizure. This is when you have to reevaluate your life and look at it. Because
agreed. Yep.
And I wish McCall the best. I think he's making a very sound decision, because the truth is he wasn't going to play in the NFL. And he wants to have as much as a normal adult life as possible. And the more head injuries you get, the less chance you have of
Tell
doing
that to Tua. All right, he asked
seriously.
you a question too.
Yeah, what's the question? It's the Rising question, yeah?
Yeah. So now that we can go to Cam Rising. What does Utah do with Cam? Do they let him take another year? Because he could because of how many games he could apply for another year of eligibility. Do they pay him for that? Or do they say, hey, you owe us money to play here now?
If only.
So Rising, really, I think his days at Utah, as far as playing football, are over. I think that he realizes that. The fan base realizes that too. The Utes need to move on based on the last 2 years of the injury history. Utes love Rising. Utes would love to see him be a quarterback coach for the school. But it's time to move on and go a different direction. And I think that everyone kind of is on the same page with that. So if he does play quarterback for another year, in college, it's going to be at a different school.
Yeah, you can go to UAB.
Yeah, I mean, he needs some NIL money, right?
Yeah,
How much UAB's going to pay. The guy makes pretty good NIL money, but if he can get a job in the other Big 12 school in the P2 somewhere, maybe he does that for a year. But I think that his pro prospects are probably gone with the injury history and the overall arm talent too. So. I'm hoping he's a coach at Utah. Honestly, that's a win-win for everybody.
That's kind of like how UCF fans felt about Mackenzie Milton when his career. He was
a good athletic quarterback too. Yeah.
Yeah, and now he started his coaching career. He's currently at Tennessee under Josh Heupel. He's an analyst there, and sky's the limit for this guy. Very smart kid, humble. I've had a chance to talk to him one-on-one. Very, very spiritual, but very, very, down to earth, laid back. I mean, it's the Hawaiian in him, very, very laid back. He's the reason why Dylan Gabriel went to UCF, because he knew him.
Yeah.
And
that's
Gabriel was fantastic in that air raid style system. Didn't want to play for under Gus's system, which really, didn't favor his style of play. End up going to Oklahoma, where Jeff Lebby was offensive coordinator, who was a former coordinator of Josh Heupel. But it's a lot of fans have that what if Gabriel didn't get hurt, because he broke his collarbone on the last play again in that 2021 loss against Louisville. What if he didn't get hurt? Would he have finished at UCF.
There's any more, and nowadays with NIL, everything's upside down anyway. We need to wrap this up tonight, Andrew. We appreciate
Good
you
stuff.
coming. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and tell everybody, where to find you and what you do.
Absolutely, anytime, guys. Had an absolute blast. Again, this is fun. This is not work. You can, and thank you to all the fans and listeners for joining us too. It's a lot of fun to do these live shows. A lot of people don't get a chance to do them, so enjoy them. You can catch me on Twitter /X at StatBoyDrew, and you can catch my writings on Last Word of College Football, which is part of the Last Word on Sports family. And I've been doing a lot of guest spots on the Locked On UCF channel, which is just started this past week, and we're growing. We're still within our first 200 subscribers, but we're getting pretty close. That's only in 1 week, so the sky's the limit. We got a lot of cool things. Mike Gittins is the host of that, and he's a cool cat, knows football, has been doing football related stuff for a very long time. So, gentlemen, always a pleasure to be able to do this kind of stuff anytime.
Thank you, Andrew. We
Thanks,
really,
Andrew.
really appreciate it. Have a great weekend. And I normally would say good luck UCF, but I can't do that tonight.
I'll finish up with the Go Knights, charge on.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, have a good one. And if you need us for anything, certainly we've been on many Locked On shows. If there's anything we can do to be helping, we're all three of us are happy to do guest spots as well. So don't hesitate to ask.
Locked on UCF, Utah coming down later this year. That might just happen.
Well, there you go.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Have a great night. We appreciate it. See you later, Andrew.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye. Wow. Again, that was awesome.
Really
Thank
good
you
stuff.
so much, Andrew. Really nice to meet you.
Yeah. It's really good to get the UCF perspective too, kind of on what's going on, the state of the program, like the fan view and everything. And yeah, it's nice to get that touch too and that perspective because we haven't got that before. So we'll see what happens this weekend though. I mean, this game's really thrilling with BYU. I mean, like, who knows? I mean, like the line sometimes is revealing, right? Like, I mean, the Vegas thinks it's going to be close, but it's like, it's just hard to figure that out kind of, with Jay Hill, BYU's defense and stuff. We'll see.
I don't know. Last week it was 9.5 points. I told everybody under the sun, too many points. This week, 2.5. Getting 2 or even 1.5. I don't understand it, but Vegas is normally right. So we'll have to see. It'll be a good game. All right, let's jump into some other stuff. You mentioned something. Sorry, let me check your.
We gotta get to the picks. Moan, you gotta get. Let's talk about the picks. Hey, Moan, why don't you give your analysis on a couple of these picks too?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's start off game tonight at 10:30 on CBS Sports Network. You can figure out where that's at. Boise State at UNLV. Boise State is favored by 3.5 points. I have UNLV.
So you took the points.
I think a lot of people don't know this. UNLV has one of the top 20 rushing defenses in college football. The best rushing defense Ginty's going to see all year probably. And this is a good catch-up game, so I took UNLV since everybody took Boise State.
Okay. You have any comments on this one?
Yeah, this one's simple. Don't bet against Boise State.
That's what I said.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's what
never. Yeah. I'll take them. I'll take Boise.
Boise State is, you and I know them personally. We know what they can do to people, and it's painful, to be honest. All right, really quick, before we do to the next game, I want to do a quick reset. If you're just joining the channel, make sure you follow all of us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on X, feel free to leave a comment. We do see those. But more importantly, why don't you jump on over to YouTube, go to the College Football Mafia Network or Big 12 Mafia show on YouTube and subscribe. Give us that subscription. Give us a thumbs up for the show. Consider doing a super chat or certainly even joining and becoming a member of the Mafia family. Just want to make sure we do that reset so everybody knows what we're here for. And really, we're here for you guys. And this is how we cover it. All your donations really, really just help us keep the lights on. Okay. Why don't you do Notre Dame Navy?
Don't pick against Notre Dame anymore. Notre Dame's the only team that won last week versus spread. I was 1-7. It was Notre Dame. I've learned this year that Notre Dame is much better than folks think, and they're going to put the wood to Navy.
Wow, put the wood.
They're going to put the wood to Navy, beat them by 14 plus.
Okay, I'm taking the points. That's my simple choice. Moen, what about you?
I have to agree with you on this. I don't think it's going to be close.
Wow.
I don't think Navy has played an opponent on the level of Notre Dame yet.
Okay.
I think Notre Dame's going to go out there and rock them.
Notre Dame's going to be a playoff team. That's a problem for the Big 12 guys. It's a big problem.
Yeah, I want them to lose another game, frankly.
Big 12 absolutely needs Notre Dame to lose another game.
Agreed.
Or else just kiss the idea of more than one playoff spot goodbye.
Yeah. They're the ones who sort of the placeholder for that spot that the ACC and the Big 12 are going to fight for every single year. All right. Missouri, Alabama. I'll do this one. Flat out, I took the points. I have no other comment about it. Alabama's underachieving. I don't have another opinion. What about you?
Yeah, sometimes you make a pick just off the cusp, and then you think about it more and more. We had this discussion about Bama earlier in the show. I'm not liking this pick anymore. I mean, I'm on Bama, 13.5. I mean, I'm not changing it. I wish I was on Missouri, though. I am not feeling good about Bama at all, at home, anywhere, especially to win by 2 touchdowns versus a good Missouri team and Brady Cook, who I think is a good quarterback. I know Mizzou fans aren't necessarily loving his play this year and stuff, but he's a good quarterback, and I think this is going to be a close game.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, guys.
Listen, Mizzou struggled to beat Auburn. They had to rush Cook back from an MRI and get him on the field to beat Auburn. This is at Alabama. This is a get-right game for Alabama. Alabama is going to win, and they're going to cover.
That's what Cook playing in this football game. If he is hurt, and according to Jason from Hall of Fame college football, how hurt is he? Are we talking like he's out, or like we talking like he's
going to play? He's going to play.
Yeah, I don't know.
Give me Mizzou. I mean, I'm on Bama, but I wish I took Mizzou.
All right. Moving to the next one, Illinois, Oregon. 21.5 points. I took the points. So this is 3 games in a row where I took the points.
Man, that's a lot of points. Remember when we saw the same type of line, guys, versus Boise State, Oregon earlier this year?
Yep.
It's like the same exact type of line. 21.5 is too many. Maybe 20.5. Like you take
3 touchdowns plus, fellas.
No. Sorry, Mon. Go ahead.
I can't. Illinois' got a competent defense. I'm not saying that Illinois is going to win the game. I think Oregon's going to win the game. I don't see Oregon winning by 21.5 points. Illinois is going to try and keep this as ugly as they can, and this might end up being a 28-14 game when it's all said and done.
Okay. I have nothing else to say about it. It's just points. It's all about these point spreads are ridiculous to me. BYU UCF. So you did this UCF at the time. You did this on Tuesday, Moen?
Yes, these are Tuesday's lines from FanDuel.
Do we currently know what it is right this second?
2.5. UCF.
2.5 UCF giving or taking?
They get. So they're favored by 2.5 UCF.
Okay. So I think BYU is better than a 3-point favorite to win this game. So for me, I got to go with my heart here. But honestly, this game is going to be extremely tight, just like Oklahoma State was.
I mean, this game's shocking because UCF is favored by 2.5, and the money's going on UCF, but I just don't see it that way. I see BYU winning by 10 points in this football game. I don't know where this new hype for UCF came from. They are on a 4-game losing streak. They don't have their starting quarterback. They're still having issues in the locker room, and they had one good performance, which they lost and couldn't finish off versus Iowa State. What confidence is there? BYU played last Friday. They've got 8 days to prep for this game. Cougars.
I like UCF. I like them to win.
Bam.
I think they snap that losing streak.
Wow.
I think BYU gets their first loss of the season.
Why?
I don't like you anymore, Moen.
Why? I do. And I don't think Vegas is wrong in the moving of the spread. Lots of money is rolling in on UCF. They know something.
Well, you could have said the same thing last week, and that game ended up being much closer than anybody thought.
Still, Iowa State. Yeah, I picked Iowa State last week, and it screwed up my 5-way parlay. So.
Yeah, you and your parlays. All right. I think we talked through that enough. That game is going to be entertaining. I will just say that. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. I believe it's a 2 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Is that right?
It's like about 1:30 on ESPN.
Yeah, on ESPN.
Cougars need to win that so they can roll into Rice Eccles undefeated.
Hey, I want Utah to win, and I want BYU to win. I want this game to have College Game Day. I want the whole thing. If Cam Rising was there, I think it would be College.
Yeah, Utah screwed the pooch on the College Game Day.
Yeah, they did. Texas Vanderbilt, 18.5 again. I went with the point spread. What do you guys think?
I hate this game. This is a hard game to predict. Yeah, Texas, but like a 51-49 confidence.
Right.
Okay. Around 17 to 20 points.
I think this is a get-right game for Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. I think they pour it on.
And what does that look like? What does get right look like, Moen?
35-7.
Wow, you think that much?
Yeah, I think they're going to pour it on. I think the defense is going to pour it on. They're going to
that's
score
my
a
question.
bunch of points.
That's my question. Is the defense?
I think compared against Vanderbilt, I know Vanderbilt beat Alabama, but Alabama has not been fantastic this year.
Well, we know that. Yep.
And they lost to Mizzou on a field goal. So I like the Longhorns. I think they cover. I think they win by at least 3 touchdowns, but I think it's going to be even more.
I'll just say this about this. Look at these lines.
Yes.
When was the last time we had so many lines that were more than or close to 2 touchdowns? They are insane spreads.
Been a minute.
It is insane. And Vanderbilt's the number 25 team in the nation, guys.
Yeah.
They're ranked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're at home.
18.5 points. I just you want to say anything about that one?
It's hard. This is a hard pick right here. Because like you remember what Vanderbilt did to Alabama? But like Texas is coming off a loss and everything, but Vanderbilt's better than you think, and they're at home, and this is an 18.5 point line. That's what makes it like it's hard to predict this game. I've got no confidence at all either side.
Well, I think we'll find out in about 24 hours. Florida State, Miami, this game, boy, could it be more upside down from where we thought this world was going to be? At the beginning of the season, this was a marquee game. At the beginning of the season, we looked at this on the schedule and we said, this is a huge week for the ACC, for Florida State, and for Miami. And now it's kind of like debating a dead guy. You'd have to die yourself to even have it be a close match. I took Florida State, again, 20.5 points. That's just crazy, guys.
It's a rivalry game. It's a rivalry game. So you got to throw a lot of stuff out the window. I have to believe that Florida State is going to be up for this game. I have to believe that their offense is going to be able to put something together where I think Miami is going to win this game. I'm not saying Florida State's going to win the game. Don't get it twisted. Miami is going to win this game. I just don't think Miami's winning by 3 touchdowns.
Florida State's been, this is an understatement, worse than we thought. But when you're picking them against the spread, they've been worse than that even. I think all year long, Florida State hasn't hit one of these picks on the spread picks. And so I'm just sick of picking Florida State. I'm sick of it. I've lost I seriously, I've lost 3 or 4 times on the Noles. I'm not taking them anymore. That's the only reason.
I completely hear you, but remember in those losses, those were when Florida State was favored. A lot of those against us were against Georgia Tech, Boston College. They were favored in those games. So that was before we knew how bad they really were.
Miami's the best team they've played all year.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, no doubt.
Is that Miami, which, I mean, it's probably going to be half full of Noel fans. Maybe if they show up. I don't know. They've won one game. There might be empty seats.
It's gonna be something like that. Now, is the stadium still under construction? Are they
Not
still
that I'm
doing?
aware of.
So
Yeah,
that's
playing at the
done.
Dolphin Stadium.
Oh, it's at Miami. I apologize. I thought it was in Seminoles. I thought we were talking to Tallahassee. No. Okay.
No.
All right.
It's
Well,
at the Hard Rock.
then. But that's not even really a home game either, is it?
Well,
I
it's
don't
in
know.
the city of Miami.
Is the game sold out, guys? Like, I don't. I just got to be honest. Like, is this sold out?
I don't know. I know this. And Rock, are you watching? Rock, if you're watching, join us for a minute. I want to talk to you about Florida State, Miami. Give us 2 minutes. I know we're running short on time. We want to do world famous Q&A. But if you're watching and you can call in, Rock and Rant, do it, please, right now. That's a command. Yeah, we'd love to talk to you. All right, let's get off that game. I don't even want to. Without Rock here, it doesn't do much good. Last one is Texas A&M, LSU. And I told you guys at the beginning of the season, I thought LSU was a dark horse for the SEC. That SC game, they looked terrible. And I haven't been on them since. And you guys have sort of turned around and started supporting LSU. Why did nobody take LSU against A&M?
I like A&M more.
Well,
okay, tell me why. I don't know why.
It's at A&M. I think that A&M is a program that has the baggage of Jimbo Fisher still on them for the last 3 or 4 years with all that hype and everything.
Okay.
And with Elko actually in chair there, I think A&M's a much better football team than they've been, and that we realize, and that they are underrated for the first time in 5 years. And playing at Kyle Field is incredibly difficult. So I think that A&M is actually becoming the team that we thought they could become under Jimbo Fisher. And I think here's another attribute too. A&M is going to rise. The program will rise with Texas in conference. And like it's crazy how that works sometimes, but Texas comes to the SEC. Texas is having success, but A&M could have just been fine skating by, getting 7, 8 wins in the SEC and stuff, and having that recruiting advantage in state versus Texas and being okay with that. But when you see your rival perform it the way it does something subconsciously to you. And I think A&M is going to lift to a level we haven't seen in the SEC. So I love A&M. I would invest, buy low, sell. I mean, like guys, like buy low, sell high, right? A&M right now, buy. I love the fact this program is just not getting a lot of press. 5, 10 years down the line, this could be a serious national championship contender. That's how I see A&M.
Moen?
I like Texas A&M. It's right. Kyle Field is very hard to play at. Texas A&M's defense, I think they're playing one of the best defensive schemes in college football right now.
Are they a 3-3-5?
I don't know for sure. Could not tell you.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you the scheme.
Okay.
But I know that they're statistically one of the best defenses in the country. The only loss they have is to Notre Dame. And it was kind of a fluky loss.
It was a fluky loss. I agree with that.
Nothing against LSU, but LSU, you have a loss against USC. And USC is on a 3-game skid, losing to Maryland.
USC is not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, USC's lost to Maryland, Minnesota. Tonight, USC gets their get-right game with Rutgers at 11 p.m. East.
But are they going to get right?
That's if they don't. I don't know.
How has he not been fired already? I don't understand.
He got him
to the end of the season.
They're not going to fire him at the end of the season. They're not going to.
All right.
He's got that Heisman Trophy win for Caleb Williams. That'll buy him some time.
But couldn't beat Utah for 2 years. 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. Utah had USC's number.
I think Lincoln Riley. I think he's overrated.
I think he's probably overrated too, but
He's
it
the
comes
greatest
down to
quarterback coach in the country.
yes. Who are you going to get to come in there and replace him?
I don't know, but USC is one of those programs you don't just get along. You are an alpha dog. You are a blue blood, and you can recruit the entire state, the whole entire West Coast, all to your own, some except for Oregon. I mean,
I hear you, but remember, this is the same program that retained Mike Helton.
yeah, well, that's true. Maybe they should have kept Mike Helton.
No, I think they did the smart thing getting rid of Mike Helton. But they've had some suspect coaching hires since Pete Carroll.
Well, it's hard to follow a legend. I would say Pete was as good in his time as Nick Saban was, but Nick Saban just did it for a longer period. Anyway, so my opinion about Texas A&M, and my opinion is that I would never bet on Texas A&M because in the 80s and 90s, every year they were predicted to win the national championship, and every year they couldn't even win the Southwest Conference, and then the Big 12 or the Big 8 and the Big 12, whatever they were in at the time, they couldn't even win their own conference. And yet every year, remember the Wrecking Crew? Does anybody remember the Texas A&M Wrecking Crew? They're a joke.
I remember Texas A&M eliminating K-State's chance at the one and only national championship back in 1998 and freaking Big 12 championship game. Dat Gwynn, I will always remember that. That's what I remember from Texas A&M.
Yeah. You have a right to be scarred, you.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say don't be shocked if Texas A&M is in the SEC championship game.
Really?
I think they could pull it off. I think the defense is sturdy enough. I like what that young quarterback's doing down there. I like Elko as a coach. I think they got the coaching hire right this time. They got a guy who's actually out there coaching and recruiting and not sitting back and counting his money. I like Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M to beat Texas.
I would say this. If Texas A&M is in the championship game, the SEC in total is a down year. The SEC is not a foregone conclusion to have 4 teams in the playoff. The ACC and the Big 12 could both get a team in if the SEC continues to they're as even as the Big 12 is. I don't think anybody in there can't be beaten.
Well, listen to this schedule for Texas A&M. After they got LSU this week,
right?
Then they go to South Carolina.
Okay.
They get New Mexico State at home.
Yeah, those SEC November games, gotta love them.
They go on the road to Auburn.
That's okay.
And then they get Texas at home.
Is Texas their annual now?
I would assume so. It's the last game of the season, so that's probably going to be their permanent rivalry. But, I mean, if they get past LSU, the next 3 games, they should win. I think South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn, I think those are all easy wins. They go into Texas, beat Texas. They only have 1 loss on the season to Notre Dame.
Man, that Texas A&M game could be big. If they both sort of win to where they're at, that could be a tough game. I mean, a fun game. Difficult. All right. Anything else about these schedules? Let's get to the Q&A unless you guys got anything else.
No, I don't have anything. These are our picks for the week, guys. There you go.
Do you have anything you want to add to those picks?
I think the picks are in. They're solid and everything. We'll see how it goes with Vandy, Alabama.
Yeah, I think just one last word on Alabama. If you guys had to bet right this second, do you think Alabama has 3 losses by the end of the year?
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? Because I think the same thing. I don't even know how. I would be shocked if they make it through, and they might have 4. It is possible. They have 4. I just, that is incredible to me. All right, let's get to the Q&A. I got my post out to Twitter so everybody knows what we're doing. Everybody knows the rules. First of all, one last reset. I'm going to go 18 minutes. We have to be done before the top of the hour. Follow all of us on Twitter. Please subscribe on YouTube. If you're on X, feel free to leave comments. At this point, I think we've got like 900 comments already flagged, so it probably won't come out. If you want your comment to be read at this point, it'll have to be a super chat. Otherwise, we're going to go to our normal rules, which are comments we flagged over the whole show, and we always defer to member comments first. Follow all of us on Twitter. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment or question. Tell us we're wrong. We don't really care. We just want to hear from you. And then go to YouTube and subscribe. That's really, really important. If you're watching on X, please help us out. And I'm going to work backwards. So I'm going to start with Opie, and then we get to Ryan. So let's start with Opie D-Don. SEC has 2 unbeatens and 5 one loss in conference. So there could be a 4-way tie at 1 loss after the season. The Big 12 and the ACC are the same way. That is crazy, and ACC could have 3 unbeatens. Just wild. This is the new world of college football, right, guys?
Yeah, this is the new world of college football and these mega conferences. These larger conferences, the SEC, 2 unbeatens, 5 one-loss teams. Man, I'll tell you what, like, that's dangerous for a lot of playoff spots. SEC is going to get a lot of them in, guys. SEC will get 4 teams in the playoff.
We have to go to a 16-team thing. This has to change this year. So much money they're leaving on the table. All right, Moan, what do you want to say? I see you shaking your head.
We need to get to a 14-team thing with 4 automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten and the SEC.
Okay, whatever.
As long as the Big 12 gets 2, I'm cool with it, right?
Big
Yeah,
12
actually,
gets 2, ACC gets 2. There you go.
I'm okay with that.
I am too.
Okay.
100%
Yeah, that's
okay.
12. That's 12 spots for 4 conferences. And then the others, I totally support you, Moen.
Yep. You get G5 continues their access. And
yep.
If anybody chooses to remain an independent.
Let's do it. Where's Bob Thompson? Give him a call. Ryan Willie checking in. Good to see you, Ryan. $5 super chat. Long-time OG member of the Mafia family. Why does Penn State still have a football program? Did you guys see that news conference this week or whatever? I don't even know what to say. Got 2 players who are accused of rape, aren't with the program anymore.
Yeah.
And the coach won't even answer questions. He won't even say no comment. He completely walks out. No communication. Probably the worst
Penn
PR
State's
move.
history, too.
Yeah.
Penn State's history.
I got
to hear your thoughts on that, Moan.
I'm going to defend James Franklin a little bit. I think it's a liability issue. I don't think he wants to say anything.
So why not just say no comment?
Even saying no comment, I don't think he wants anything to be taken any wrong way, right? Just, this is a statement. We've read the statement. That's our statement.
And then he won't answer questions. Won't say he won't answer questions. Doesn't do anything. Just storms off like a little kid.
Again, well, if you watch the whole conference, they read that statement beforehand and tell them they're not going to answer any questions about it.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And they refer reporters to that, and then the reporters ask questions about it. So reporters can't get upset when he storms off stage when they've already told you not to ask questions about it.
2 years in a row, the same thing Michigan did last year. The Big Ten has a major PR problem when it comes to these issues. They do not know how to handle them right.
Well, I don't think this is a Big Ten issue. I think this is a Penn State issue.
Well,
but
guilty
overall,
by association. Your whole
right, but I don't
problems.
think you can hold a whole program responsible for the actions of 2 players.
Okay.
And they're not even on the team anymore.
No, I
They
get
were
you.
kicked
I
off the
understand.
team and-
I just think he could have handled it better. That's all I'm saying. The conference can handle things better. Thank you again, Ryan, for the $5 super chat. Really, really appreciate it. Hall of Fame College Football says Lincoln is trash.
Lincoln Riley is trash. He's going to get fired from USC probably at the end of this year.
I think he is.
The Golden Boy, they paid him so much money a couple of years ago
did.
to come in too. It's wild to see his demise. Jason, I'm wondering though about Brett Venables. What is he on the hot seat? What's the chatter about Venables at Oklahoma? Because it kind of seems from an outsider's perspective that there's got to be pressure on him to get wins.
We'll have to talk about that next week. We don't have really the time tonight to dive into that. But Jason, let's you and I talk offline. I was on his show last week. I think it was last week. Time flies so fast. And we did talk about the coach a little bit. Obviously, Oklahoma fans are frustrated. But I didn't, unless I heard wrong or don't remembering wrong, which I might be, nobody was out for a scalp. They think there's other things, coordinators and stuff. So we'll have to see. But Lincoln is trash. A lot of people think that. Jason follows that up by saying they beat Texas this year, talking about A&M, but they are historically an 8-4 program. By the way, Jason, thank you for being a member of the Mafia family. I really, really, really appreciate that. And your friendship, everything you've done for us. We really appreciate you. I like Elko, but they have that little brother thing going. It never changes for long. We're talking about A&M here.
I think A&M is going to see a resurgence. I think they were for a long time, for 10 years in the SEC, they were in the state. They were considered like the recruiting big dogs. That they were in a different level conference than Texas and even OU in the Big 12. That's just, I know a lot of A&M fans. I work with them and stuff, and that was the thought process. Like they had been humbled in the SEC, but they still thought of that way versus Texas and OU. And Texas has always been their bane, guys. Like Texas gets all the PR. When Texas in the same conference, they overshadow them, just like you're saying, Jason, here too. The little brother thing, you can call it that. But that also can cause a program to rise, to live up to more expectations than that you'd expect of them. Texas comes in the conference, Texas A&M expectations lower. They have a coaching change. They have no expectations right now. They've got a good football team.
That's true.
I think that they're going to accomplish more with Texas in conference in the SEC than they would have ever accomplished without Texas in the SEC.
I've never even thought about that, but you're totally right.
That's how it works sometimes. It does, because you lift.
I hadn't even thought of that.
When your rival jumps into a conference and everything, you lift.
Oh, for sure. Well, I know that personally for a fact. Moen, do you want to add anything to that?
I was going to say, unless you're Utah.
Well, I will say this, and this is a time for a different show, but it is true, in my opinion, it is absolutely true. Utah did not want any part of BYU being in the same conference because they're afraid of what's happening right now.
Well, yeah, like Utah had a thing with USC that they were enjoying too, right?
That's fair.
And USC
That's
might
fair.
not. USC,
Right.
Some folks said that wasn't a thing, but like Utah had thought that they had formed a new type of rivalry, which turned out to be an error.
Yeah. Well, and now we're back, and it maybe it's time for a Utah paradigm shift. I kind of think Kyle needs to. Anyway, different show. Tony Lawson checking in saying Pete Thamel reported yesterday USC would have to pay Lincoln Riley up to $90 million to fire him after this season. He's not going anywhere. What did we say about Kirby Smart 2 years ago, guys?
I think you're talking about Jimbo Fisher.
Sorry, Jimbo Fisher. I apologize. Yeah, Kirby Smart's Georgia, of course. Yeah, Jimbo Fisher. Everybody said no way they're paying $75 million to get rid of Jimbo Fisher. $80 million, I think, actually.
$90 million. Oh my gosh!
But it's USC. That's like a check. George Lucas
USC's
just
like,
writes him
man,
a check.
those guys over there, like, they don't have as much money as you think.
But it's USC. They're a blue blood.
It's his third season, though.
Yeah, but,
I mean, and he's won a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, but winning a Heisman Trophy is not the same as winning an
at USC. USC, I think, still holds the most Heisman Trophy winners of any school. So, yes, it helps having a Heisman Trophy winner at USC.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the comment. We were not aware of the buyout amount. We knew it would be a lot, but we weren't sure what that would be. Opie checks in saying, what? No one took my Tigers? Well, anyway, got them on ML and points. Help me out here, Moen.
Money line, he's got them to outright win.
Okay, and Tigers, remind me?
LSU.
LSU. Yeah, I did not. I loved LSU at the beginning of the season. They were my dark horse. And then USC made them look not very good. And they weren't my dark horse anymore. Shonsky, it's been a minute since I've seen you. Appreciate you. Long-time OG member of the Mafia family. Good to see you. He says A&M defense is for real. Wrecking Crew, 1996. I'm just saying. I'm just making fun. Doc Gibbs, good to see you, Doc. I missed you in the early part of the show. Miami is very overrated. I would say Clemson is very overrated. Is the entire ACC very overrated?
By the way, Louisville, who took it to Miami last week up until the end of that game, is losing to Boston College 20-0.
Oh, really?
Yes.
ACC's a mess, man. Big 12's a mess. I don't think Miami's overrated. I think they're very, very good. They have a quarterback that could be generational with a little coaching. So we'll have to see. Moen, I'm going to turn over some time for you. Sorry, I forgot to give that to you earlier. I apologize.
Guys, I want to talk to you about the upcoming SEC Big Ten scheduling agreement.
You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I just want to let everybody know there is steam there. There are people very high up in very important places that want this deal done.
Can you give an example really quick? Set the paradigm for us.
So a scheduling agreement between the SEC and Big Ten that will take place over the first 4 weeks of the season.
Okay.
Between 12 and 16 games. These will not be SEC. It won't be Vanderbilt versus Ohio State. These are going to be Ohio State versus Alabama, Ohio State versus Georgia, Ohio State versus LSU. This is going to be
money games.
It's going to be a little best on best.
Okay.
Home and aways for each school. And that's going to push them to part of this agreement is they're going to push to change the college football playoff rules to give each of them 4 automatic qualifiers.
Okay.
And they're going to get some more money out of this from their media partners, and that is going to go to buy out some games that they already have scheduled.
You mean you're talking that they already have scheduled with other conferences?
With other conferences, correct.
All right.
Like Bama versus West Virginia, that type of game.
Oh, yeah. Are they scheduled? I didn't know they were scheduled.
They were in the future here, but that's the kind of game that they buy
That
out.
would get cut. Yeah, you're right.
That'll probably get cut. They're going to buy that out. They want to get this started. I was told they want to get it started in 2026.
Basically
Bummer.
Year.
Because the Utes were supposed to play LSU. They'll probably buy that game out too.
Yeah, BYU's got a couple of SEC games and Big Ten actually on their calendar in the next 5-6 years.
So,
Big Ten SEC neutering Big 12 ACC. That's what's happening. It's neutering. This is what neutering looks like.
It's all about the Benjamins, guys. Media partners want those big games the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. Having SEC Big Ten matchups those first 3 to 4 weeks. What's going to do it for the media partners? You guys can go back and we can look. I mean, I think I didn't catch all the show on Tuesday, but I know you looked at Big 12 media numbers.
We did.
And I think we could probably look at SEC and Big Ten media numbers, and you can see why.
Right.
We explained why in
both media partners
excruciating detail.
Yep.
Yeah, Ute and I, and this is Ute's headline, is we got to look in the mirror and know what the problem is before you can begin to fix it, right? Stormy Cyclone, where you been?
Yes. It's harvest time.
Oh, okay.
Just to let you know, Stormy, I was told that if state legislatures require a game to be played, it will be played.
You talking about in Iowa?
Yeah, I think the Cy-Hawk Trophy is scheduled for at least the next 30 years. So that game will be played. But Iowa is going to have an SEC game on the schedule. Should the scheduling agreement go through, and I've heard that the lobbying from the important people in both conferences is to get this deal.
All right, let's sit here for 30 seconds and just ponder that.
I pondered it. That just feels that's the feeling of your dog getting neutered right there. You know, that's what it feels like.
And the thing is, there is really no way to stop it because it's not controlled by an overall entity, right? These are individual businesses that want to collaborate. There's
Yes,
nothing
these are
wrong
two
with that.
conferences that want to collaborate.
Yeah.
Obviously the one that's going to get hurt most by this is Notre Dame.
Right. Right. They're going to drive them somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Notre Dame is going to lose that USC matchup. That is going bye-bye. Any games that Notre Dame has scheduled with future Big Ten teams is probably going to go bye-bye.
Notre Dame, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan State.
It's because they're starting with the end in mind. It's just to pinch Notre Dame to join.
So who is Notre Dame going to play? They're already playing the Service Academy.
Hey,
Big 12.
You want to get that Big 12 viewership up? Guys,
Look,
get a
I'm not
scheduling
against
agreement
it.
with Notre Dame.
I'm not against it. I'm just saying it's extremely painful to ponder. That's the outlet.
Yeah.
Wild stuff.
All right, guys, we are up against it. We've been doing this a little bit, so I think we're going to just sort of sign off. Moen, I'm going to give you final word for you.
I would like to say that I think this weekend we're going to see some Cinderellas drop. I would also like to remind everybody that Kyle McCord threw 5 interceptions yesterday and 3 pick sixes.
Yeah.
So everybody who complained that Buckeyes were pushing him out, that is the Kyle McCord that we saw last year when he doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. to throw to.
Right.
He is a pretty mediocre quarterback.
Pedantic. Yeah.
Shallow and pedantic.
I agree with that. Ute, final word.
It's survival week. It's the ultimate test. These are the weeks that you aren't looking at the big time matchups per se, but these are the weeks that you gotta get the wins if you're going to be a playoff contender and stuff. And like Moen said, it has a feel in the air of upsets. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on. But this is survival week. It is a ultimate test. So let's go.
I personally think we went into the weekend 9 undefeateds. We've already lost 1 when Kennesaw State beat Liberty. In my opinion, there's going to be 2 more. At least 2 more are going to lose this weekend. I'm not going to speak out loud who those will be. It's bad karma. But, yeah, now it really comes to every week now is an eliminator game for the playoff. Every single week. And nobody's exempt. Ohio State.
I
Alabama.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
By the way, at 10:30 tonight, UNLV, Boise State at UNLV.
Yeah, everybody's got to watch that game. It's going to be entertaining. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate you joining. Again, I want to thank, let's see. Remind me his name.
Andrew.
Thank you. I was going to say Anthony. I knew that was wrong. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. We'll have to do that again. And thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Cheer for your teams. If you're Big 12, support the other schools. The best schools, you got to support them because they got to win out. Need that respect, and that's how we get it. Everybody, if you've been drinking, don't drive. We don't do that anymore, but I appreciate it. Stay out of trouble and have a great night. Peace out.
Huge.
See ya.